Hey guys, Jake Kwaiback Knives. Just wanted to do a quick video on the differences between the Kwaiback Mark IV and the Mark V. We have my personal 5-year-old, well-loved Mark IV and a new version of the Mark V. Just wanted to show these guys off and give you guys some of the major differences, and hopefully you guys can take away some cool points there and answer a bunch of questions that we've been having. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so a couple of the major feature changes between the Mark IV and the Mark V. Have my personal Mark IV here. I've been carrying this one for about 5 years, I guess. It's carbon fiber edition. Obviously, carbon fiber show side. Has carbon fiber inlay, and this one in particular is 20 CV steel. We've done different steel types and carbon fiber and full titanium and blah blah blah. We don't change the Mark version just because of a revision in materials, so don't really look for that. Look for major design changes. So differences between Mark IV and Mark V. I won't go back any further than the Mark IV and the Mark V because it's kind of pointless. It's a moot point at this point. But you'll still see the occasional Mark IV up for sale, at a dealer or what have you, and the Mark Vs just came out, so I figured I'd give you guys the finer points. So right off the bat, you'll notice internal stop pin on the Mark IV. So Mark IV at the bottom, Mark V at the top. Internal stop pin, Mark IV. External stop pin, Mark V. LOT behind that, logical order of thinking, is that you can, and I have had it happen to me and a few others, under extreme conditions, lots of junk and crap in your pockets and in use and everything can get lodged into the stop pin track. And what can happen is the blade will not close completely or open completely until you blow it out really well or take it apart and clean the junk out. If you try to force it open and closed, it will kind of wedge it in there. But if you catch it, usually you can just blow it out with your mouth. You don't even need compressed air, and most of the time it takes care of it. So yeah, that was a revision. I wanted to make end user use the best that I can. So that was a big design change on the Mark Vs. This is actually a scrap blade, so mind the terrible machine marks here. But yeah, so external stop pin makes it much easier to clean. So that was the biggest revision. Also, we changed the lock insert. Not really anything other than ease of machining and better tolerance. The Mark IV has got this large exposed lock insert, and it was it's a little bit more challenging to make. It's got several more holes, required a much stiffer tolerance range, and it also housed the HRD, the hoe back rolling detent. So what would happen is we'd have to bolt the insert down and then tap through the titanium and the stainless steel insert to be able to get the proper threads. A little bit of a pain from a design aspect. So we switched over to doing a smaller pocket. So you still have your over travel prevention, but your HRD is free of the lock insert. It's inserted all in the titanium. Never mind this little hole here. I've had a couple of people ask what it was for. Is it like another detent or anything? It's just for fixturing on our end for making the part, so don't even worry about it. It has nothing to do with anything that you need to be worried about. But it drops in, single screw holds it in. Pocket is a nice slip fit, so the part does not move. It does not engage the HRD, and just makes life incredibly simple and much easier to manufacture, and gives us a better final product. So being that it's a little bit easier to manufacture, it is much easier to just swap an insert out. If something happens, you lose something or you break something or whatever, it's much more field serviceable than the older style lock insert, so that's why we did that. We switched over to so on the Mark IV, we used a 3/16 stop pin internal, way overkill, crazy ridiculous, you know. 3/16 is like crazy huge. Absolutely no need for that. So we switched over to a 5/32, gives us a little bit more room in the frame to play with. Makes for a stronger knife, actually. Theoretically, you could not actually shear a stop pin, whether 3/16 or 5/32. To be honest, I could probably gone with 1/8 inch, and you're not going to wear it out. I've got Kwaibacks that have been in service for, you know, we're getting close to a decade, and never once, ever, in any of the folding knives for that matter that I've ever made, had to replace a stop pin because it was broken or worn out. It doesn't happen. Not sure. You know, I've heard people, you know, say, oh, you know, I want a bigger stop pin or what have you. I don't get it. It makes, from an engineering perspective, it's ridiculous to think that you're going to wear out a, you know, even an 18-8 stainless steel pin. You know, I would have to look up the specs on that, but, you know, I'm pretty sure it's not ever going to have anywhere close to the shear point reached for the mode of failure on that pin. It's just not going to happen. I mean, to be honest, I think you could, the only pin you would ever be able to break in a folding knife would maybe be like a 1/16 pin. Even an 1/8 inch pin is going to be overkill, but you guys like beefy stuff, so we give it to you. Same pivots, same bearings, same washers, hardened stainless washers, caged bearings, same backspacer, same screw lengths. We did reduce the number of screws, so we only need one screw now to hold in the lock insert, so that makes it simpler. Same pocket clip screws, lightning pockets on the inside. So Mark IV, and I won't use the lock side on mine because I actually was using it as an experiment. I actually filled the lock, or the lightning pockets with some epoxy to test this theory. It actually worked pretty well. But the old version, actually both sides, I did it on both sides, but anyway, you can still see the lightning pockets. Lightning pockets up here. What was aiding in stuff being able to get trapped inside the stop pin track in the blade was this lightning pocket and this lightning pocket, and also this little tiny portion there. Stuff could fall in there. We use a pretty tight tolerance, or pretty small, I shouldn't call it tolerance, pretty small space between the blade and the frame, but stuff could drop into the lightning pocket and then eventually work its way into the stop pin track, and then it was difficult to get it out. So we did do a revision, a mid-year revision, where we removed lightning pockets and modified this pocket, and that helped, which was awesome. So I took that into the Mark V a little bit further. It's an external stop pin, so it's not nearly as much of an issue, but we did keep the lightning pockets back. That doesn't give any real increase in weight to the frame that anyone would ever notice, tenths of an ounce, but you know, it makes end user life much easier and simpler, so we did that. Pretty much everything else is the same width of the lock bar, all the major design stuff. It's just some good improvements, I thought, from our part. Basically same blade geometry, same length. Lock is, you know, slightly different. I did actually change the lock angle ever so slightly to just make end user life longer. And yeah, I did a lock geometry video that we're going to be updating, you know, that'll give some explanation on lockup and stuff like that, and the explanation behind it. But yeah, just some minor revisions to lockup. But yeah, now the cool part here, you know, I'll go full Grimsmo here and tell you it's pretty awesome. Some of the improvements that I have made have allowed us, and some equipment improvements that we've made, manufacturing improvements I should say, allow us to have part number 1000 fit part number 1 and vice versa, and all the parts in between, whereas we used to hand fit all of our locks to our lock inserts. So yeah, that's some of the revisions. Hopefully that helps, and thanks for watching. And if you guys have questions, shoot them in the comments, shoot us an email. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and all the other social media platforms that we have out there. Appreciate you watching. Check out our website, www.jkwaibackKnives.com. Thanks.